Okay, so here's video 13. So you're given a limit involving infinity. So if a limit involves infinity, it's either going to, oh yeah. So it describes asymptotic behavior. So if a limit involves infinity, there is some asymptotic behavior involved. Like as x gets very large, y does something, unless they're both infinity, I guess. Yeah, if they're both infinity, going to infinity, it wouldn't be an asymptote. Okay, let me just do the problems. So you're given a limit involving infinity. Draw a picture to show the asymptotic behavior described by the limit and write the equation of the asymptote. So I'm good. You don't have to do this arrow diagram, but I'm going to do an arrow diagram uh, with the given limits. So the limit as x approaches negative 8 of f of x equals negative infinity. So what this limit is telling me is that as x approaches negative 8, y approaches negative infinity. Now, guys, you know that you've got an asymptote or some asymptotic behavior when x is approaching a constant. When as x approaches a constant, y approaches some type of infinity, or vice versa. When x approaches some type of infinity, positive or negative, y approaches some constant. So if you have either of those cases, you know you've got an asymptote. Now, um, like you know how here's a nice way of remembering it, I guess, like which type of asymptote you're dealing with. Um, you know how x equals a constant is a vertical asymptote, or would be a vertical line. So x equals a constant is a vertical line. So it's when x approaches a constant, that's when we have a vertical asymptote, provided y is approaching some type of infinity. Okay, so anyway, here's the nice picture. So x is approaching negative 8. So I will draw a vertical asymptote and label it. Oh, they're asking for the equation here. So the equation of this asymptote is negative 8. Um, okay, y is approaching negative infinity. Guys, for a vertical asymptote, you've got to think if it's like, you know, is the graph on just one side or is it on both sides? And since this does not have a plus or minus, it means that from both sides, as x approaches negative 8 from the right and left, the y's are approaching negative infinity. So it's going to be like this. Okay, from both sides, as my x values approach negative 8, my y values approach negative infinity. And this is the equation of the vertical asymptote. Now this next one, I have as x approaches negative infinity, y is approaching 4. So you know how a horizontal line has the equation y equals some number. So if y equals some constant. So if it's y that is approaching the constant and it's x that's approaching infinity, some type of infinity, then you know you've got a horizontal asymptote. All right? So x approaching negative infinity means that my x is as I move left, okay, as my x values move further and further and further left, the y's are leveling off at 4. So the graph could come from below and level off at the asymptote, or it can come from above and level off at the asymptote, or it could cross the asymptote. Verticals can't get crossed though, and then level off later. I guess I'll just come from the bottom and level off like that. Okay, y equals 4. Now this one, so x is approaching infinity, y is approaching 1. All right, horizontal asymptote, because horizontal lines look like y equals a constant. And here y is approaching the constant and x is approaching infinity. Y equals 1. So x is approaching infinity. So I'm going to be going to the right. My graph's going to be leveling off as the x's move right. So I'll go like this time. Okay, just to show you that you've got options. So not only am I crossing the asymptote, but I'm leveling off above instead of below. like before. Now this last one, as x approaches 5 from the right, y is approaching infinity. All right, so this time it's the x that's approaching a constant. So it's going to be x equals the constant will be my asymptote. So that's vertical. X equals 5, x equals 5. And x is approaching 5 from the right, and the y's are shooting up this time to positive infinity. So this is not, so I'm not going to have a graph on both sides of this, because you can't cross a vertical asymptote. I'm only going to have a graph on the right. So, just like that.